Okay, well, just hi everyone again. This is Shane here on behalf of the iMoot team. So I want to welcome you to this session. I hope everyone's been enjoying the iMoot so far, and as Trish wrote there, hopefully he got some sleep so far. In this session, we have Dom Seneque, who is the head guru, top dog person at Pukunui in Australia. Dom's worked with Moodle for quite a long time now, and has quite a bit of experience in rolling out solutions for the various clients at Pukunui. So Dom, thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing your words of wisdom today. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Hello everyone, and thank you for attending iMoot, and thank you for the privilege of having a topic to talk about. The reason I brought this topic out is because we do deal with lots of clients, and I'm often asked this question, and I recently went through this in quite detail with one of the clients. I thought it'd be good to share this with others as well. So that's my motivation there. And horses for courses, and I'm not a lover of horses by any stretch of the imagination, but I just thought horses for courses, you know. So a couple of questions, I suppose, as I put into my short brief, was how do you display your content? How do you organize your content? And how do you want your content to flow? Now, so that really comes down to course formats, and there are a variety of ways that you can display the content in Moodle, and hopefully what we'll do is we'll go through a list of them. So hopefully what we'll cover is there's what we call standard course formats that come with core Moodle, and then I've also downloaded and installed a couple of the popular third-party course formats, and we'll go through them as well and talk about the pros and cons that relate to them, and also for those that are very green, we'll even go through a session of installing a third-party course format as well. I suppose, but before I start, is ask a couple of questions from you guys. How many people out there have played with course formats, i.e. they've experimented with? How many people have experimented with a variety of course formats in their courses? A couple of yeses and nos, maybe? A little? Okay, so everyone's had a go at it by looks of things, which sounds good, which is good. And settled on some standards, which is good about settling on standards as well. We can talk about that a little bit later as well. Make a note about that. The next question, I suppose, is how many of you have had the opportunity to download and play with third-party course formats? So if you've had an opportunity to download and install or play, or and some of you may not know how to do that at all, but because the great thing about the Moodle community, there's a whole bunch of them, and some very popular ones, and some are fairly new ones, and some are obscure ones. So there's a couple out there. Hopefully we'll cover. So thank you for answering that. Now, just to quickly tell you, the standard course formats we'll be covering today will be the topics format, the single activity format, the weekly format, and the social format. Now, Moodle comes standard. I think it sets its default one to weekly, which is always a bit of a weird one. We try and change it to at least the topic format because people may use, yep, I heard about the social wall one. I'm not covering the social war one at this stage as a third-party one, but I have heard of it. So yeah, typically Moodle would set the weekly format as the standard, as the default one. I would probably recommend at minimum setting the topic format as the standard one. The third-party ones that we will be covering will be the grid view, the one topic, the collapsed topics, flexible, and buttons. So we can have a look at them. And I think that's almost the end of my horse pictures, yes. So that was it, no more horses. Okay, course default settings. If you go to your dashboard, and this is for Moodle 3.2, if you go to your dashboard, site admin, courses, and course default settings, you'll get the option of setting your default course format. And as I say, I think Moodle comes out of the box with weekly, but I'd recommend setting it by default at the topic format. That just means anyone who's creating, maybe one of your new teachers that come along, they want to create a course, they won't be thrown straight into the weekly one, they'll be thrown into the topic ones. And there's also some other settings there as well, like the number of sections, I think set to 10 underneath this one. Again, you may change that to 3 or 4 or 5. So good to just review those settings on your own site. Now, getting into it, I'm going to try and swap between the screen and the presentation. We'll see how we go. The first one is the topics format. Now, I'll go in there for now. And what I've done here is I've cut out just a section of the settings page that is related to the course format. The reason I did this is just in case the screen sharing didn't work, we could have something to look at, but we'll jump in there now and have a look at the screen sharing. Hopefully that all works. Here it comes up. Now what I've got here, I've got a site called dom.moodlesite.pukunui.net, and I've set up, I'll tell you the story, but everyone can have access to this. And the last slide will give you some usernames and passwords that you can go in here and play as well if you like. As I mentioned to you, I had one client that came to us and said, look, here's some money. I said, oh, thank you very much. Could we please help them determine what's the best format? And I said, well, yeah, horses for courses. Everyone's different. Everyone has different audiences, and everyone needs to engage and interest and motivate their audience differently. So I said to them, you can't just ask that kind of a general question. You really need to know who you're going to be doing your courses for and who's the target audience, etc. Anyway, the outcome of this was we ended up creating this generic course, and he asked me, what's good practice? And again, I said, well, it really depends. But some of the things that I've picked up from the number of sites that I've been exposed to, it's always good to have a welcome at the top of your course, preferably a picture of a handsome man, if you haven't got one in your organisation. But this is one I got off the web somewhere. But and also, if you've got an introduction to the course, like a YouTube, that's also probably handy to have as well, because that just softens, rather than throwing someone into the deep end. We would recommend that you would have something like this. Then obviously you break your courses up into sections or topics, and in each sections you would have types of activities. So in this regards, it was a company induction that I kind of stripped some information off them, and I said to them, stick your SCORM here, stick a PDF here, and then for additional reading, we indented that, and we said, here's some additional reading, which is still part of the reading material part. They had another section, they called it questionnaire, which was actually a quiz, which was based on everything that they'd read, and we had activity completion or activity restrictions against that particular quiz, which meant they had to read all the PDFs before they got down to the quiz. And again, they have a feedback, which is just a questionnaire that they'd need to fill out after they've once they've done the quiz, and following that, they've got a certificate. Some of the things that I recommended they do is they have a small sentence at the top of each section, which just describes what the section is about. And we've just got some Latin text there just to demonstrate that. And if they want to, they could make it visually pleasing by sticking some sort of icon. These guys were big into red, so I should go and find some red icons and stuff to keep them happy. But effectively, this is a typical course. Now, the view that we've got here is what they call the topics, the topic format. And in the topic format, you basically get each of the topics or sections appearing down the page. Now, there are a couple of settings associated with the topics, and I've got the settings page over here. which we can talk about. Course formats, wait for it. Now, with the topic section, again, you can change the format by selecting from the variety of formats. You can put the number of sections. Talks about hidden sections are completely visible, or hidden sections can be collapsed, and I'll demonstrate that back on the slides. And then the other one was you can show all the sections on the one page, which is the current setting, or you may choose to just show one section per page, and I'll still change it to that, and just see how that's reflected differently on the course when I go back to it. What you'll find now is that the course only displays the section name and the introduction, but none of the content. It just goes down the page that way. So again, even within the topic format, it's got some options available to you as well. So going back to the slides. So just wait for that to come back. Oh, sorry, minimize that. So that's the sections there, and some of the points there is, I mentioned before, if you have hidden sections shown in collapse form, it just means that if I've got a hidden section here, you can barely see it in the grey writing, but it's displayed there. If you have that completely invisible, then it's actually missing here. So a couple of types of options available in that topic format. And the other, and obviously, as mentioned, that's the layout of the topic format that we had before. It's a pretty standard format. It can be the scroll of death format potentially as well, depending on how many sections you end up having. Now try and race through this. Now single activity format basically says that I would like my course to be based on just one single activity. Predominantly people use this one in relation to either quizzes or SCORM packages, whereby they go into that, they set the course up to just be that one activity. The benefit of this particular format is that it bypasses the intermediate step of showing something before someone then has to click the activity. It just takes you straight into the activity, and I can demonstrate that shortly. So that's the SCORM activity there. And basically, when you click on the course, it just brings you straight into the SCORM package rather than showing you the summary information, which can be disadvantageous because you don't get the option of having an introduction to the course or a little blurb about what the course is about. It just says, here's the SCORM. So I suppose that's something to consider if you're using that. And I'll demonstrate that later, I suppose. The other one is the weekly format. The weekly format is similar to the topics format in that you get the similar options that you can select, except what it does do, it takes the start date of the course, and if I've created 4 weeks, it will make the first section the date of the current start date of the course, and then the following 4 weeks will be set up as the section headings. And I'll demonstrate that. Screen sharing is closed, small luck. I knew this would happen. Start that. Sorry, the screen sharing is just temporarily closed, so I'll just wait 1 second. It'll come back up again. And I'll come back and demonstrate a couple of points about the weekly one. One of the things I noticed about the weekly one is that's the way it displays the weekly headings, the topic headings, the 1st of February to the 7th of February. And what you then had to do is then go and then put in the actual topic, the reading materials. So what I found is I actually had to go in there and re-edit it to actually say that, and started looking a little bit better. So there may be some tweaking that you may need to do with that. You might be happy with these 2 lined headings, or you may want to tweak it to make it look a little bit nicer. Let's see if I can get this Java thing happening while I do that. Okay, next slide. The next one is social topic, and that's similar to the single activity format as well, except it's using a forum. And so again, it takes you directly into the forum when you go into that course. So as you can see, there's a picture of a forum there going on. People can then respond to that forum. There's not that much settings for the social format. It's only got the number of discussions that you want to have. So it doesn't got a number of sections or anything like that associated with it. Now, I don't know if I'll get my screen sharing back again. Oh yes, there we go. Where's you? So I'm just back in my course now. I'll just go back and demonstrate those couple of one. Single activity format, as I said, you're basically taken straight into the activity where you say enter, and there really isn't an opportunity to put too much in there in relation to comments and stuff. The other one was the weekly format, and again, very similar to the topic format in that it breaks it down into four for each topic, and the default would be the start and end date for the week. What I had to do then is put the name of the topic section in there as well, and then further what I then did is I further edited that to give more meaningful information. Or you can still have weekly format, but you can override the dates with your own section header. So there are a couple of options available to you to play around with that. And again, with the social one, it's basically it's a forum discussion, and you just go in there and you enter it in, and you can participate in that forum discussion topic if you wanted to. Again, there's not that. There may be some more information that you can record there. So now that we've done that, what we'll do is look at some of the third-party ones. The first one is the grid format. What the grid format allows you to do, remember our basic course had 4 sections, including as well as the introduction. So the introduction, you could have made the introduction appear as another grid option in the grid, but I like to put that on the landing page so people can actually read it, if they know what the course is about. And then following that, you've got these grids or these blocks that represents each section. So if I had 20 sections, I'd have 20 boxes. I've got 4 sections, and there's a plethora of settings that you can use to change the background color, the text color, this color, the size, etc., etc. And you have to provide your own images as well. So these are just some stock images I found for the client. And when you click on each of these sections, what it does, I'll click on a small one actually. What it does, it brings up a floating window of that particular section over the top of the course, which is quite a nice way to present the content. And you can navigate to the next section with these arrows to the side, and it's quite a tidy way of doing things. That works really well, I believe, if your topics aren't bigger than a page, because it's nice to see everything on the one page without having to further scroll down. It's quite and I have one client that's actually standardized their whole Moodle to look like this, but they'd have their icons obviously, but all their courses are structured in the same 3 or 4 step processes. So regardless of what the course is, they know that they've got to do some reading, that they've got to do a quiz, they've got to do this, etc. So it makes it very, so that the student becomes very familiar with all the courses and the way it's being laid out. So that's another benefit of that. As I said, I'll take you to the settings for this grid form. And we go down to there. And it allows you to, again, have the standard 4 topics that you'd get in most topics. Then you can talk about the image size, how you want it, 3x3, 4x4, etc. Containers. So you can make your buttons to be 3x2 if the dimensions of the pictures that you're putting in. So you can do some And then there's a whole bunch of different colors that you can set and pick in relation to. So lots of mucking around. Good fun doing that. So not that one back here. Then we'll go to the next one is the one topic. The one topic, basically, it again takes the 4 topics and puts them into tabs. So now you can click on each one of these tabs and the content is displayed underneath. So I'll click on that one, it's a smaller one. So the 4 tabs are still there, and there's the content of the course. So, and obviously if you've got more sections, you'll have more tabs as you go through the course. Now, one of the things I experimented here was, in this instance, I actually took the course, what I call section 0, took the course introduction and actually stuck it into its own section. And so that's why the introduction is part of the first tab. It just made it look a bit nicer. But again, you can play around with that. You can include the first tab. There is an option that allows you to put section 0, which is what this content is, into the tabs, but for some reason it looks bad. So I had to move it into its own section. And also, once you're down here, you've got the options of navigating to each of the sections by clicking at the bottom there. So if you're at the bottom of the page, you can just click at the bottom and that'll take you to the next section. Quite a nice format as well. And that organizes the content into individual pages. Again, what they're trying to do here is limit the display to only show one section at a time, which reduces the scroll of death, obviously, that most people have to deal with. Now, in looking at the settings for this, I don't think there was anything unusual. One topic. So in this case, I created an extra section for the header, and there it is there, visualize mode before the tab. So you could have put it in the tab as a tab itself, but there's complications here. I played around with it, so I encourage you guys to have a play with that and move those things around. That's the beauty about Moodle. You can chop and change and get the correct layout that you're after. So going back, the next one was Collapsible Topics. Yes. Now, again, we've got our introduction. Welcome, blah, blah, blah. In this stage, the 4 sections are described as collapsed topics. So as I click down on that, the topic will appear. Now, you've got the option of opening all. So you can open all the topics, so you can have your scroll of death if you really want it. Or you may choose to say, oh, it's good to, and sometimes it's good to see what's behind and go, oh, I had a good look at that, don't care. Had a good look what was before, don't care. I really want to focus on the piece of work that I want to do now. So this one's quite handy as well. So you can collapse those particular topics. Now, again, with this plugin, there are heaps of settings in relation to the color, what color you have the buttons, what color you have the text, what color you have the background, the selected. So you'll have fun playing. I kind of like this one. It's quite organized. It kind of gives the student a bit of a summary of the sections ahead, and then can expand the one that they want to see at the time. Probably the advantage, though, is if you activity tracking recorded, that's where you put the ticks against the sides there. You can't see it until you open each of those to see where you're up to. So any specific settings there? Have I got the right one? Perhaps here. Can't think. Oh yes, you can have multiple columns. So if I change that to 2 columns, for example, and save that. I don't know why you do this, but your content can now appear in columns. Nice if there's a need for it, but kind of cramped if there isn't a need for it. So there's a couple of good features there, but I do like this one. This one's quite good. All right, so moving on from there, we go to the flexible format, sorry. Excuse me. Now, this one is, again, similar to before where we show the section name and then the description. As I say, I encourage everyone to put a description in there. But as you can see, it only shows the descriptions. Only when you click on the topic header, it'll take you to the actual topic which shows you the content. The beauty about the flexible format is that it allows you to have subtopics. So that's the main topic, and this is a subtopic. So as you can see, as you're reading down, you're doing these two things, and it's got related documents. So I click on that, and that then displays that related documents, and even that has an embedded subtopic. And if you look at the breadcrumbs, you'll see how it's gone in one layer, it's gone in 2 layers, and if I click on that, you'll see that the breadcrumb eventually will reflect advanced topics. Still spinning. And as you can see in the header there, we've gone down 3 layers. We're still within that first section, but this is a subsection, and there's the subsection, so to speak. This is a great one if you want to, if you really need to have your content organized, and you've got lots of content. So when someone's drilling down, otherwise even the front page can get quite busy. If you've got 30 sections, you can probably break it down and then further break that down again. So that's the flexible section. I don't think there was many settings for this one. We'll just have a look. Oh, no, there's only the one. There's only the one option available to you. There's to change the format. So that one was very simple. So going back to that, yeah, I again quite like this one. It made the front page look very clean in that it just showed the introductions or the brief introductions to each of the sections, and then someone could then drill down. And if you're only drilling down even to one space, now it then allowed you to navigate by having the up button, so it would take you back to the previous section in the hierarchy, so to speak, or in this case, the front page. That's the only navigation though, or you can navigate via the breadcrumbs. All right, the final one, this is an interesting one, is the buttons format. Now, I don't know, has anyone out there used the button format at all? Well, I can see the chat, so I don't know if anyone out there has used that one. If it's fairly, I don't know if it's a fairly new one or not, but it's an interesting one. What it allows you to do is put these buttons. Now, not necessarily intuitive in that I'd put some instructions up here to tell people what to do, and I've seen other sites that have used big arrows that point people down to this section, because otherwise it just looks like content. But what these buttons actually do, they actually navigate you to the content. So if I click 2, again, it only displays that particular section. Great for eliminating the scroll of death. So if I check feedback, again, it takes me straight to the feedback. I've seen some sites where they've got the introduction, then they've got content, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then they've got conclusion. So there's a number of things that you can do. So again, I like it because it removes the scroll of death. I don't know if it gives people a really good summary. This would lend itself more to courses where sections could be grouped together. For example, you, as I said, you might have a book that has the introduction and the conclusion, and in the middle you might have 3 or 4 chapters, and you'd group that together. I can show you quickly how we can modify these things in the settings. And also, as you see, you've got numbers here, but you can change it so that you can have 1, 2, and then start again 1, 2 for another chapter if you wanted to. So there's lots of options associated with the settings here. So we'll just go in here. And so what I might say is reading is made up with 1, and then we'll call this one the body. And I'll say that's made up of 2 sections. It will work it out. And then I'll call this one end and make that 1, and then we'll get rid of that. Get rid of that. Now if we save that, scroll down, I'm currently sitting on 3, but you'll see it's got here reading, then the body 1, 2. As I said, if you've got multiple of those, then you've got end. So you can kind of logically group sections together using this. There's also the sequence of numbers may differ as well. For example, if you've got, if you play around with the settings, you'll appreciate it. It took me a while, but there's a parameter here. Not that one. Above the list of numbers. No, numeric. Oh, count sections, ignoring groupings. This is the one here. If you don't ignore groupings, what it will do, it will save it, and I'll show you. So instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, now it says the first grouping is called read. Now it should really put 1 in here, but because it's only the 1, it puts dots. But if I had 2, it would put 1 and 2. The next section called body, it then restarts the number at 1 and 2. And the next section, if there's more, it would start the number at 1 and 2 and 3. So again, it's just the way that they set that particular plugin up. But this one, again, is a really good one in that it limits the screen to just displaying the section that you're interested in. All right, I think that's it. I should go back to my slides, really. Hang on a sec. So we've covered a fair few things here. If I race through them, so that's the settings for the grid view. We talked about that. Floating windows for the grid view. The one topic, which was the tabs that appeared at the top. The collapsible topics, again, allowed you to see all the headings quite nicely. And there's very limited formatting there. The flexible format, which is the one that just showed the summary only, and then as you clicked on the individual names, it would then display that section, and then if it had a subsection, you click on that, it would display those subsections, etc. So that's the flexible one, and the appropriate settings for the buttons. Sorry, the button one, go back. Oops, yep, the button one's next. And we talked about the buttons in relation to appearing like that, or 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So you can group those by how. Yeah, if you took the descriptions away, they would just appear like a row of buttons, by the way. So you don't have to have descriptions there for them. All right. Can you change numbers to ABC? Yes, you can. There's Roman numerals, alpha, and numbers. So allow that. Sorry, I haven't been reading my comments. I've got the slides back to front there. There's the actual one. Now, for installing a third-party plugin, the steps are: you go to Moodle, you look up course formats, you select in the selection criteria, you select the format you want, you download it. I'm sure there's cleverer ways of doing it, but that's the way I know how to do it. Then you return to your Moodle site, you go to the administration, plugins, install plugins, and drag it in, and that's it, effectively, I think. But let's just demonstrate that. So we go to plugins. To go there, Then we search for course formats. Search button. Try and pick one that we haven't picked before. There's a social wall one, which I've seen, but I didn't want to include in this presentation. Should have just picked one from earlier. Can't think of one. Any menu format? Okay, we'll try that one. So you click on that. Now you notice you don't get the download appearing here unless you select the version that you want. And lo and behold, this one's not a good one because it doesn't work for our version. Probably. Okay. Oh, there we go. So it would work for 3.1. Anyway, you download it. Oh no, 3. It has been released for 3.2, so we'll download that. In my downloads folder. Then we go back to the Moodle course. Go to administration, plugins, install plugins, choose a file, where it was, upload a file. This is a bit like a Microsoft presentation. You never know what you're going to get. I think that's all we do, install the plugin. So that's a good sign. And I believe it's installed. Update Moodle database now. And that menu topics. Now, unfortunately, I know nothing about menu topics. But if we go back to our course settings page, I'm just going back to the first topics of the course settings page and go to course. I should find one in here called menu topics, and there it is. So I think that's drawing me to a close. I'll pause that. So basically, you're more than welcome to access the demo site. I've got some credentials there, student and student #123 is the password. And I think you're a student in those courses. So if you just wanted to have a quick look around, you're more than welcome. This is a chance for you guys to ask some questions now before we finish the presentation, if you have any. Hopefully someone smarter than me will be able to answer them. Is the iMoot having been set up? Now, what's iMoot set up on it? I think it's set up on the topics format. I didn't set it up. That'd be a question for Shane or Vinny. Yep, standard topics. Thank you, Liliana. And again, if you get your horses right, they'll take you places. So it's great to know that you've got lots of choices for course formats, because at the end of the day, it's the students that you're doing this for. So it's got to be engaging, simple, and yet interesting for them as well. Yep, you're welcome. And to be able to start the activity into good life. Not sure what Mike's on about there, but I'm happy to take that question in more detail. All right, well, thank you everyone for attending. If we don't have any more questions, I hope that was informative for you guys.
Cool, Dom, and I'll just jump in here and just say thank you for sharing at the iMoot, for your time and for your insight into all of that. I really appreciate it. And for everyone, hope you continue to enjoy the iMoot and all the different sessions here. Most welcome to keep the conversation going if you want, if you've got more questions for Dom.
No worries.